Thank you. Thanks so much. I know there's a cooler up here, which automatically means something must be in it. The folks at Ben & Jerry's left us some slices. Does anybody want some ice cream before we get started? Any ice cream? No? No? Yeah. This is the ice cream side over here, I can tell. Yeah, bring it. Keep going. All the way down. All right, let's see. I don't know how far we're going to get. I got 5 or 6 more. Parker? Okay.
Thanks, Rob.
Chris? Vicki? 2 more. I mean, you know, thank you. 2 more, yep.
Thank you.
All right, 1 more. 1 more Ben & Jerry's slice. Courtney? Ice cream? There you go. No, wait, sorry, there's 1 more. There were 2.
I'll sell mine.
Or I'll just eat this after I'm done my presentation. All right, fine. So thanks, guys, for coming in. Looks like some of you maybe know each other. My name's Ross Evans, and I'm the Vice President of Redpoint. Redpoint's a marketing and public relations firm, which I think some of you are probably familiar with. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Redpoint. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, and then we're going to get into the meat of the presentation today. Sound good? Yeah. Cool. All right. So Redpoint is started actually 15 years ago, almost to the day. Redpoint started on April 1st, April Fool's Day of 2002. And Chris Miranda, who's actually here, is one of the founders of Redpoint. Chris, I don't know, say hi. Everybody knows Chris. And Gina Dalecki is also here. She's one of our account directors. She's giving a presentation tomorrow on public relations, which you all should go to. Okay. So back in 2002, when Redpoint started, the focus was on public relations. So what we did was we connected our clients with journalists and got them media placement and worked on events and that sort of thing. And as all of you know, this thing called the internet came about, and digital marketing became a thing. So we started to do digital marketing for our clients, on behalf of our clients. And we did it really, really well, but they liked how we did it so much that they said, hey, can you teach us how to do that? And we said, sure. So we started a training division. And we started speaking to clients and training them how to do digital marketing on their own. We still do digital marketing. We still do digital marketing for our clients. But it was really important to train them on how to do it. And then the final piece of the puzzle as far as our evolution goes is on the business consulting side. So we consult with businesses globally on how they run their operations and how they could improve their business. And I love that people are eating ice cream too. Like it just, I don't know, I feel like I don't have any napkins. I was totally unprepared for the ice cream. No napkins. But all of our work is in the travel and hospitality space. So these are some of the clients that we work with now, some of the clients that we've worked with in the past. And they range from, you know, small independent properties like the Inn at Manchester down in Manchester, Vermont, to destinations like we've worked with the state of Vermont, we worked with the state of New Hampshire, we've worked with the island of St. Lucia in the Caribbean. So I know it's really difficult to have to work with the island of St. Lucia. I had to go there even. I had to go there like 4 times. It was just miserable. But this is the clients that we work with. And then this is really who we are, though. We are a small group. We are about 9 or 10 folks. And we have a lot of fun in our offices. Don't we? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. So Redpoint's actually based in New York City. Do not hold that against me. As you can tell, I do not have a New York accent. No offense to the New Yorkers in the room. I was born in Northfield, Vermont, and I live in Randolph, so I work remotely. Yeah. So I work remotely for Redpoint, but these are just some fun pictures of different things we've done around the office. We have a lot of fun, crazy hijinks. If you're not following Redpoint on social media and you want to get more fun in your life, then you can follow us. You can see what we do. But I love VTS. I really do. I really love coming here. We talk at a lot of different industry functions. We talk at a lot of different conferences. And for me, this is like the home game for me because I grew up here and because I live here. And I've been speaking at VTS for not a while when you take it into consideration how long it's been going on. But for me, since 2011, I've been giving talks. And not that I wanted to like flash my resume and get a lot of oohs and ahs, but I just was going through my head on everything I presented on, starting back in 2011 where I presented on creating a brand video with Henhouse Media, who is actually recording this session right now. So everything's coming full circle. In 2012, I talked about social media. 2013, I talked about digital analytics. 2014, I talked about email. Then I talked about doing a website audit at your home. And now I'm going to talk about some old school stuff, which is not related to digital, so it's a little bit of a different one for me. But as you can see, something's missing from this list. What happened in 2016? I know you all were missing me last year, and you were like, why isn't Ross here? I'll tell you a little story. So March of last year, I think it was March, I was playing basketball in a recreational game, and I tore my ACL. Complete tear, all the way through. Yeah, I go all out when I do something, and I did that all the way through. So when they gave me options for surgery, I wanted to get it done as quickly as possible. And the surgery date was actually the opening day of VTS last year. So I was in surgery. I missed that. Vicki and I were comparing some stories earlier about potential ACL issues. And Vicki, don't let this next slide scare you. But my wife came with me to the surgery, and it was great to have. You got to have a good support network when you're doing something like this. And she took a picture of me that I wanted to share with you guys. So this was last year. This was actually 365 days ago. This was what I looked like. And I was ready to go, okay? I was ready to teach. But Chris and the other folks who I work with said, sit this one out. You can sit this one out. I'll leave that up there if anyone. You guys everyone get a picture of it? Yeah. So this is what I looked like after the surgery, and obviously I was feeling pretty good.
Can you pose with it, Ross? That's awesome.
No, I don't want to make that face. It'll be embarrassing. Not like that's embarrassing enough. But interestingly, as I went through this ACL recovery, has anybody ever had ACL reconstruction surgery and done the recovery? No. Okay. So this is how weird of a marketing person I am. I kept relating the steps I was taking for this recovery to marketing. And so I actually have an entire slide on how ACL surgery recovery and doing really good marketing and really good business are alike. And this kind of sets up where we're going, so just bear with me. So walking before you run. Okay, literally, you get out of ACL surgery, you can't move your toes. So the physical therapist has you move your toes, and then you bend your legs, and then you put a little bit of weight on your leg, and you slowly build up to this kind of where you're walking and then running eventually. And business is the same, right? I mean, you have to do the fundamental small things really, really well before you can do the fun stuff. Like in my case, it was just running again. I wanted to run. It's really tempting to cut corners. It is, when you're doing this recovery, it is so long and slow. It's a 6 to 8 month, maybe 12 months for some people, recovery from ACL surgery. So you really want to cut corners. It's really tempting to do it. And business, it's tempting to do it too, right? We see other businesses. We come to something like this, and we learn about all the stuff that our competitors are doing, and we get so excited, and like tomorrow, you all want to start Snapchat accounts. So it's tempting to cut corners, but you really have to be able to do the basic stuff first. And the results don't lie. Before I did my surgery, I was talking to people who have had the surgery in the past, just to get a sense for what the recovery was like. And my neighbor, Sherry, she lives 3 houses down from me. I don't know if anybody knows her. No? All right. I mean, it's Vermont, I figured. So she said, I had the surgery. Recovery was a piece of cake. It was no problem. And I said, you're the first person to say that. Like, how was physical therapy? She said, I didn't do it. I said, oh, wow. Like, how do you feel now? She's like, I have pain every day. I was like, oh, well, yeah. I guess that doesn't, I guess that makes sense. So I didn't go the Sherry route with my recovery. But in business, too, the results don't lie. You can't if you cut corners, you're not going to get the results that you want to get. And finally, you can't be successful without a strong foundation. You really have to do the small stuff really, really well first. So that's what I learned through my ACL surgery and recovery. And that leads me to what we're going to talk about today. When I thought about what I wanted to share with you guys, I knew I didn't want to do something strictly digital, because that's kind of what I've done in the past. And some kind of themes have bubbled up as we work with clients around the state and around New England. Consistently, there are some forgotten fundamentals that they've just kind of glanced over, or they did at one point and then never revisited. And that's where the idea of this presentation came from today. So can we all agree that marketing is a cluttered game? Yes. So when I started in marketing back in 2003. I was in Boston and I was working for some footwear companies. So I worked in marketing for New Balance. And we had one way to market to people. We did a catalog and we mailed it to them. And we hoped, we prayed that they bought something, right? None of this was available to us. And that we're talking about 14, 15 years ago. So it's all changed and we've all become very, very time poor as a result of it. And I saw this the other day. I felt like it sums up what it's like to be a marketing person today. You meet with your boss or something. They're like, "No, don't get distracted here. Stay really focused." And then you see the social media stuff. You see the digital stuff over there, and it's just so shiny. And it's so, you want to do it. Looks like it'd be so fun. And I'm not going to say that those new marketing, come on in. Dave, come on in. Welcome. And that is not to say that these newer forms of marketing don't have great value, because they do. And this is not a print is not dead presentation either. We won't get into that debate. So new marketing does have great value. So you get instant feedback, right? You make a post on social media, you send out an email, and immediately you can start tracking this stuff. So there's really good value there. These are ways that you can develop your brand personality. So we have more ways that we can share who we are as a brand, who we are at our core as a brand, than ever before. New digital marketing allows us to connect with what I call window shoppers. These people who are just getting to know your brand and want to have a little piece of it, but don't want to go all the way in to make the purchase. It's a great way to do that. And ultimately, you can widen the prospect funnel. So you can get more people into the funnel where hopefully they'll buy something from you, they'll stay with you. So I'm not debating that digital does not have value. But the issue is, when you abandon the fundamental stuff to focus on this new marketing, to focus on digital, two things happen. One, you're left time poor. We see this all the time where someone says, "Hey, I went out and tried this new thing. It didn't go very well, it didn't work, and now I have no time to get back to doing the other stuff that I wanted to do that fundamental stuff." So you can really quickly lose time. And on the flip side, guests and customers, they're left feeling unsatisfied, because they saw you were doing the shiny new thing, and then when they got a little closer, they realized that the core still had room to grow. It's kind of like opening a bag of chips. When you get a bag of chips and it's so full, and there's got to be 1,000 chips in there. There's got to be, right? And then you open it up and it's 86% air and 14% chips. So you're leaving your customers, you're leaving your guests feeling like they want more. So how do we get back to delivering on that promise? Enhance those fundamentals. So some of this stuff you've forgotten. You started something, you didn't finish it. You started something, you abandoned it. You went on to something else. So we're going to get back to talking about some of those things today. So specifically, I'm going to talk about each one of these individually. So we're going to revisit our on-premise communication, how we're talking to guests, how we're talking to customers when they're visiting. We're going to talk about email confirmations. When someone buys something, that automatic email that goes out, or someone books a room, that automatic email that goes out. We're going to talk about those. I'm going to show you kind of step-by-step how to audit your business listings. So when you go and sign up for, you get your chamber membership and you get your little position on their website, those little things, remember those? So we're going to look at those. I'm going to talk about blogs, because I know there's a lot of lonely, abandoned blogs out there. And then, yes, I'm going to talk about rack cards. Yeah, that's right. We're going all in. We're going all in today. Well, I visited. Well, I'll get to that point. Don't worry. You need to stop at a rest area if you're wondering if they still exist. All right, so revisit your on-premise communication. Some questions that you should ask yourselves as you're looking at how you're communicating to your guests on-premise. Number one, is the information up to date? Is it accurate? The Redpoint team, as all of you probably do, we travel a lot. We travel to a lot of different hotels. We get into the room, we look at the in-room book, and we're immediately seeing, is this information accurate? Is it up to date? And believe it or not, 9 times out of 10, it's not. That stuff has been sitting there since the person created it, and it hasn't been revisited. Does it ensure that guests can get around the area easily? Right? So someone's coming from out of town, and they'll come up to you at some point and say, well, hey, there's nothing to do around here, right? What do I do? How do I get around? So are you doing anything on premise to communicate how they can better enjoy their stay and have a better experience? Are you doing anything to help them want to visit again? A lot of times we think of, well, they're here, they've come, they've made their reservation, they're staying, and then they're going to leave, but ideally we want them to come back. So what are we doing to communicate them to come back? And these are just questions to ask yourself. And is your brand voice injected into the material? Which is a big, I mean, this is like brand voice. That's a big, meaty topic, right, that you can get into. But a lot of times what we see are these kind of boilerplate, cut and paste, in-room communications that they could be literally at any property. So what do we mean by brand voice? So has anybody ever stayed at the Inn at Manchester? Okay. Wow, okay.
I was there with Hans.
Wow, whoa. Okay. That may be a different presentation, but.
Well, there's like 10 of us that were together.
Oh, well, it was 10 of you then. That's fine. So those of you that have stayed at the Inn at Manchester, you know that it's a very friendly, a very kind of family-oriented place. But one of the things that they have started to do, which we think is just fantastic, this is the tip envelope, right? So this is a seemingly kind of benign form of communication where you've got the envelope somewhere in the stack of the in-room book. And they do this little hand-drawn caricature of Alice and Adie, who, if you've stayed there, you know who Alice and Adie are because there's 5 people that work there. So they're very recognizable. And I actually think this is done proportionally because Alice is about 6 feet tall and Adie's about 4'11". So this is done very, very proportionally. But how much did it cost them to do this? 5 minutes of their time? I mean, you know, you got to do a new one, I guess, every single time, so you need the new envelope. But this is the way that they inject their brand personality into their communication. And if you think about it, this little benign kind of touch point is actually one of the last interactions that the guest has when they're leaving this room. Hopefully. Hopefully they had a good stay and they're picking up that envelope, putting a few bucks in there. So I'm not saying everybody go out and start doodling on your tip envelopes. This is how they do it, and they do it really, really well. So spruce up your email confirmations. So whether you have a store and you're sending out an automatic reply when somebody buys something, or you have a hotel, inn, resort, and you're sending a confirmation email, an observation here. Confirmation emails are all the same. Like, they have the same boilerplate text that when you signed up for the booking engine, that's what came with the text, and we left it in there. And it's not really doing anything above and beyond simply communicating the confirmation number and, I guess, the dates of your stay. This is a real live confirmation email that I get every time I stay at a hotel in New York City, and it is lame. It's boring. I don't look at it anymore. I did to get a screenshot of it. They're also asking me to download an app, which I just wish they wouldn't, but they are. But they all look the same. This confirmation email could have been for any resort in and around the country. So yes, the confirmation emails do serve a purpose. They serve a functional purpose, right? You've got to communicate some information to the person. But that doesn't mean that they can't be useful and that they can't be fun, right? Or they can't be written in a very fun way. A few examples. I didn't know that, is anybody from Airbnb here? This is a good example, so you can, okay. I didn't know there'd be so many Airbnb folks here, so before a while I picked this. But they send out email confirmations and they encourage their hosts to create these local guidebooks. Right, so when they know that if a guest comes and stays and they have a great time in the area, in the community, that they're going to more than likely use that service again, but certainly would be likely to stay again at that same place. So this is a great example of how you can kind of add a little bit of really useful information, and that way the user kind of maximizes their stay. Get a little bit more out of it. If you have a website, you could create a page that has your guide on it, right? A couple of pictures, a couple little things to do in the neighborhood, and add that to the confirmation email. So that's Airbnb. Injecting your brand's personality. This is from a hotel in the Berkshires, and they do a great job of injecting their brand personality into their confirmation email. It's a little hard for me to read, but it says, "You've made an excellent choice for your visit to the Berkshires, if we do say so ourselves, and we encourage you to explore every nook and cranny of the property." Have you ever seen the words nook and cranny in a confirmation email before? No. But it fits this hotel's brand personality. It fits with who they are. They're casual. They're laid back. Another one I like here is, "Shortly before you arrive, we'll drop you a line." These are really subtle, small changes, but they do a lot to communicate this kind of brand personality of who this hotel is and what they're about. Doesn't have to be enormous changes here either. You could even give them something. So this is a property in Monterey, California. This is the bottom of their confirmation email. And it's got a lot of the same kind of normal stuff up above, but the screenshot I took specifically was, but first share a tweet about your upcoming trip to Monterey Bay using the orange links provided and receive 2 welcome drinks. Wow, okay, yeah. Yeah, like give them free drinks if they do something. I know, well, it may be hard in Vermont. I know maybe we can't give away booze, but you can find a way to give them something if they take some sort of action, right? Give them something a little bit more valuable than simply giving them that confirmation number. Okay, so that's some tips on confirmation emails. Audit your business listings. This is one of my favorites. This is one of my favorites on the whole presentation because it's such an unutilized tool for you guys. You're all out there. You all signed up, right? You're on the chamber, and they give you a little space on the chamber. You're on Travel Vermont. They give you a little space on Travel Vermont. You've got your name. You've got your description on there. Maybe you've got a few pictures. But after you sign up, a lot of folks never go back, right? They never go back to see, is that information still accurate? Do the images need to be changed? Have the features and functionality of that website changed and you maybe not taking advantage of them? So these are some questions to ask yourselves as you're doing this kind of mini audit. And I'm going to give a little trade secret here. It's all right, Chris. You don't know what it is yet, but when we start working with clients, we do kind of an analysis or an audit of their business. And one of the things we tend to look at are business listings. How much traffic are they getting from these things? So this is not our full audit, but I'll give you kind of the highlights. How's that, Chris? I get paid?
Do it.
So what I would recommend you do is go to your analytics or however you're tracking web visits to your website and list out the top 10 or maybe it's the top 5 business listings that are sending traffic your way. Review the traffic for each to determine the trends. Are you getting more or less traffic than last year from that source, from those sources? And then take a look at the listing itself. Go on to the Chamber's website or go on to the Travel Vermont website and look at your listing. Is it active? Is it outdated? Is it getting lost? And are there new features? One of the number one things we find is that these websites evolve, and then you, as the person listing on there, have not taken advantage of new features and functionality that are on there. This is kind of dormant website traffic that's just out there that you can take advantage of. So from there, obviously, if there's new features and functionality that are out there that you're not taking advantage of, and this can be as simple as we were doing one the other day, and somebody asked us, they had these little icons. They'd introduced icons, this one site, and it had like a fork and like a plate for like they have a restaurant. And the client said, well, why don't we have a fork and a plate on our listing? Because they have a restaurant. So we asked this, oh, this was a new thing you're just not taking advantage of. So it was kind of go into the admin, update it, add that we have a restaurant, and you're in. So take advantage of that. Update for accuracy of information. Make sure maybe you had some changes in your property. Maybe you had some changes in your business that the description needs to be updated from there. Add new images and descriptions. Even if the image itself is accurate, it's not a bad idea to update with some new imagery. Just so it looks new and current. Think about doing it potentially seasonally, updating, so people can see seasonal pictures on there. In some cases, you might decide that you don't want to be on that site anymore. A lot of times we'll go on and we'll see a site that we've never heard of is kind of on the way down, and you can tell because there's nobody really managing it. These listing sites sometimes pop up and they pop down really, really quickly. So it's a good idea to just make sure that it's current, and if it's not, get off of it. And think about a review seasonally if you can. So those are your business listings. All right, the blog. Oh, we got some groans. I feel your pain. So fall back in love with your blog, or just close the whole thing down, really. There are, blogs sound like a great idea, don't they? I mean, just the word blog. It's kind of really fun to say. It sounds like a really good idea, and what happens a lot of times that we see are folks get on a blog, they get going, they write a post a week for 2 months, and then a year later they look back and they haven't done anything for 10 months. And that's okay, that happens, right? But just be really honest with yourself. Do you have the time to commit to a blog? There's a ton of value to your brand, to your business. There could be a ton of value to having a blog, but there's no shame in saying, I don't have the time to commit to it. I'm going to close it down. But if you can rekindle that fire that you had when you started that blog, some tips to consider. Think about doing a guest blogger program. So within your community, there are likely people who you know, trust, and like that would want to write for your blog. So ask them. Try to get 6 for a year, and then you fill in the other 6, and there's your monthly blog post. Guest bloggers are a great way to also expand beyond the bounds of your property, right? A lot of times we talk to folks and they've just started a blog and they're 2 months into it and they're like, I have nothing more to write about. I've written about breakfast 10 times and I have nothing more. Well, you know what? When people come and stay with you, they're experiencing your whole area, your community. So find different pieces, different nuggets within your neighborhood that you can write about as well. Consistency is key. Commit to a schedule. Honestly, commit to a schedule that you can keep, whatever that may be. You could say, I want to do weekly. Well, you better do weekly. If you could say you want to do monthly, do monthly. If you can't do it monthly, I think you should go back to the last slide and consider if you really want to be doing it or not. And don't get bogged down with length. Yes, you want to have a few hundred words in these blog posts, but we hear from a lot of folks, it's like, I want to get to 1,000 words. I want 1,500 words. And it's like, well, people aren't going to read that, frankly. So don't get bogged down in the length. It's really more about quality. And if you're looking for a really good example of a hotel blog, or an inn blog, this is the Jackson House Inn in Woodstock, Vermont, which is a great property, by the way. And I have no relationship with them. We don't work with them at all. I just really like their blog. They do a really, really nice job. It's called Cheddar and Gin, which anything that's called Cheddar and Gin, like, count me in. I don't know, whatever it is. I'll be there. But they do a lot of guest blogging. They feature a lot of businesses in and around Vermont. So they've taken this position that they're not just going to focus on what's happening at the Jackson House Inn. They're going to kind of expand their reach. So theirs is a good example of how to do blogging really, really well. They do a really nice job. Okay, so that's blogging. Now, the rack card. I know. When was the last presentation you saw on rack cards? just out of curiosity, quick show of hands. Never. All right, good. I'm the first one. So we joke about it, but I actually did a little tour. As I was getting ready for this presentation, I did a little tour of some of the rest areas in this great state. This is the new rest area off of Exit 7 on 89. Does everybody know there's a new rest area off Exit 7? Yes. So, okay, yes. So this is a public-private partnership, and it's phenomenally done. It's a great looking rest area. And they have this great rack card stand. This surprised me because they're not overlapping. I'm so used to the everything's overlapping. I'm used to this. So this is another one. This is the rest area in Randolph. So I saw a few that caught my eye. First tip: 75% of that card is probably going to be covered up, right? Most of it's going to be covered up. So make sure you get the really important stuff up top, which sounds basic, but there's not a lot of people out there doing it super well. So get 75% of the stuff up top. If your core business is selling fluffy teddy bears, get the fluffy teddy bear up top. Above the Montshire, Beth, I'm sorry, yeah. Beth, I didn't know you were going to be here even. I'm sorry. Tough to compete with fluffy teddy bears. But notice they've placed this teddy bear exactly above the rack card that's in front of theirs. Brilliantly done. I also want to call out the logo. The logo is like 1/6 of this space. A lot of times we think, well, the logo is the most important thing. It's our logo. It's our brand. Get it up there. But really, what's going to attract the person that's walking by, right? In this case, it's fluffy teddy bears. With Ben & Jerry's, it's their factory tour. Imagine the person who's from Massachusetts walking through. They have an hour to spare. What are they looking to do? They're looking for factory tours. They're looking for something free. They're looking for some way that they can spend an hour of their time and have it be worthwhile. So Ben & Jerry's does a good job of that as well with their factory tour. Get creative with the design. The rack card has lived within the bounds of a rectangle for far too long, okay? I wasn't campaigning for rack cards, but I might start. This might be the launch of a campaign for rack cards. Cold Hollow Cider right down the road in Waterbury, they do a really nice job. This shape caught my eye, plus it's donuts, so again, if it's donuts, I'll pick it up. And then Magic Hat, they've got the shape of a growler on the top. So they've done something really unique with their design. They've gotten out of that rectangle look. Another one that caught my eye was this Plymouth Cheese rack card. Just the way that it's designed. It looks like an old-timey poster. This could be a poster at the Tunbridge Fair, maybe. I liked it. It was unique. It stood out from all the other ones. So don't be worried about getting caught up in the bounds of that same formula that you've been using. You have to do something to kind of stand out. I had a map, right? I know everybody says, well, everybody has GPS. Does GPS work in every one of your areas where you go? And is GPS correct in every place you drive to? And I didn't realize we had Mr. Morse here. How are you, sir? So, does that guy look familiar? Does he look familiar? So this is, everything's fallen into place for this. Everyone came that's supposed to come, and it's all working. Is anyone from Vermont Teddy Bear here? No. So on the left is Vermont Country Store. So they've added this little map. Is this a 100% accurate to the fine-tooth comb of what their map should look like? No. But they've given you some bearing on how to get there. Because they know GPS doesn't always work in Vermont, and GPS isn't always accurate in Vermont either. And Moore Sugar Farm, where I've been going since I was a little kid, thank you very much. They've got the little map. This wasn't planned either, by the way. So they've got the nice little map on there too. Again, it's directional. It shows you roughly where you need to get to, which I think is really useful. Josh?
We've been open for 3 years. We're on US Route 4, and GPS still gets our address wrong.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. So there you go. You cannot trust the GPS. And you guys are, I mean, right there.
Highly visible.
Highly visible, yeah. Yeah, so don't count on GPS. Use a little bit of space for a little bit of map. I got to talk about QR codes too. God, I wanted QR codes to work, man. I did. Like 10 years ago, I was like, this is it. The bridge between print and digital has finally arrived. Everyone's going to download the thing and then try to get the thing. And no, it didn't happen, guys. It did not. It did not. And somebody here might have a great case study for QR codes. And if it's working for you, then that's awesome. Just keep on doing it. But I am giving everybody permission here, okay? You can say Ross told them. You can get rid of QR codes because I don't think they're working. And I think it's time to just move on, okay? It sounds like everybody agrees with that one. So, all right. Oh, well. I know I know. I really wanted it to work, but it just isn't working. I think people have the ability now to get to a website if they want to get to a website, right? My dad's 67, he's on Instagram, and he's killing it. So I think we're all, we've moved into the new digital era where we're all very comfortable with it. Okay, so that's rat cards. Any questions so far? Now that I've talked about all that old stuff, I got one. I got a bonus. Yes, before we get to the bonus.
A question on blogs. Do you suggest using a blog platform or a private blog on your website? Is there a big
It's a really good question.
bonus that you get from being on a platform that you can be connected with others compared to just one
Boy, so a platform being connected to
blogger or many of the big blog sites?
I think the more closely you can connect it to your main website, the better. And that may not be a complete answer, but I think the more closely you can connect it to the look and feel. So from an experience standpoint, you want someone to feel like they're still on your website. You're still the value of the content on that blog is there. I mean, that's the point. But I think the more closely.
Does that help with the promotion of it? I mean, if you have a blog on your site, who's going to see it?
Well, it's the content that you're putting on there that's going to draw more folks in. So it's the content you're writing about, the content that you're promoting, and find some ways to promote the blog too actively. Promote it on social media. If you're doing any sort of ads on social media, you can do an ad for a blog post. You can do an email for a blog post. But certainly the value of the content, kind of search engines finding you. I mean, that's all really good stuff, right? I mean, that's the value. And I think I think most people would agree the more closely you can connect it to your blog is where that SEO value gets in there. So, really good question and something we get a lot. So, all right. So I'm going to distract you guys for a minute. Okay. So I've given you all that juicy kind of fundamental stuff. I felt like the digital person in me could not leave without giving you some sort of shiny new marketing toy tip. And this may be new to some of you, but it may not be new to others. Facebook lead generation ads is something that was launched about 6 months ago. It's in late last year. And if you're building an email list, if you're looking for prospects in some way, new prospects, and you're advertising on Facebook, give Facebook lead generation ads a shot. So what are they? These are screenshots that show you the steps. An ad comes through in the timeline, someone clicks on it, and a little pop-up comes up where you can enter their email and their name, and it all happens within Facebook, so you're not clicking out into any sort of other site. I recommend giving it a shot. You can reach prospects using Facebook's advanced targeting. The ad and the sign-up form all happen within Facebook's platform. Again, this is the distracting piece, okay? I'm purposely distracting you. And then you can collect leads for email marketing for somewhere between 50 cents and $2.50. That's a huge margin. That's a huge gap, but it really depends on your targeting. But make sure your fundamentals are in place first before you get on that, okay? So listen, guys, that's it. Questions? Did everybody finish their ice cream? We've got about 10 more minutes if anybody has any questions on anything. I'll answer any questions. Maybe. Yes.
One thing that just occurred to me while you were talking is Mary Allen from Vermont Life Magazine, and so I'm a big print person, so like, let's hear it for rat cards.
All right, yeah. Woo! Here for rat cards.
More importantly, a lot of work for and intimidating or to get your voice out there. But one thing I just realized that I hadn't really put together is working for tourism and part of the Department of Tourism. I know that one of their statistics, and somebody over there on tourism may be able to give the specific statistic, but that Vermonters influence what people who come to the state do once they get here more than just about anything else. So, so that's why word of mouth, and I just went to another talk about getting in your local media, like why do you care if you're trying to get people from Connecticut, why do you care that the Times Argus writes about you? Well, it's because the people who live here who read the Times Argus then might mention to their friend visit. So all this is a long way of saying that I think like with a website, people see a website as like a formal thing, or they see whatever the example. But with a blog, it's almost like having your personal Vermonter giving you advice.
Right,
you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like that person that is saying to you, hey, right around the corner we have this or that, and somehow it seems different than the voice of the website.
The idea of Vermonters kind of being the messengers for in some cases I like the idea of them being the messengers for coming to Vermont. I mean, it's kind of like the idea behind the This Is VT Twitter account, where you're kind of turning it over to people who have a real voice in this state. So I like that. Thanks for sharing that. Any other questions? Yes.
It's a little ironic that you put our brochure up, because I was just talking with our marketing person. We're ditching the brochure.
Well.
But they had the map put on the record. I said that we really want a map anymore with GPS.
Right.
And I tried to talk her out of it. And here you are saying maps are still good.
I love maps. I mean, maps are still good, but maybe we can get the maybe we can get the brochure. Maybe we can talk after. I don't know. I appreciate you sharing that, though. Thanks.
Very quickly on rat cards, as a millennial who's taking an upcoming trip to North Carolina, I contacted the Visitors Bureau down there, and I'm having them mail me some rat cards and brochures. I use the internet too, but it's a lot of the same stuff, and just in different, formats. And you can sit down and do things at your leisure and share with your significant other. And
Let's hear it for rat cards, really.
even young people.
Yeah, my kids. I mean, my kids pick them up. We go, they're like, oh, look at this. Not that that's really the end customer, but yeah, Vicky.
Cards and brochures and other websites too. A lot of times I see people don't have their social icons. And they think, oh, it's a rat card. Why would you want to do that? Well, it lets people know that you're on Facebook, you're on Twitter.
It's the same people using QR codes.
So just
to get over it.
Yeah. There's no reason not to have it on there for sure.
Let's spice it up a little bit.
Oh. Wasn't spicy enough for you, Hans?
I gotta go now.
Courtney's leaving. Are we going to talk about the In at Manchester trip?
With Courtney and I were staying at the end of Manchester last week.
And we had this discussion, and no, but take for instance rec cards and think. Some of that is really to do also with your demographic or who
Sure.
your customer is, and so I don't think you can just universally say, hey, that works for everybody. I think,
100%, yeah.
You know, for some customers it may actually be distraction.
Yeah. Talk to me about the distraction part.
Well, distraction, it may be, you know, I think particularly for some hotels, I don't think that, I mean, and I'm saying this while we are sitting with Rex in rest areas, but.
This could be a little counseling session.
We have above the fold, maybe a picture of Courtney, but just, no, but I'm just thinking, you know, we don't think our audience is the one that's stopping by a rest area and picking out a rec card.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, rack cards definitely aren't for everybody, and I would say if you are doing them, think about some of the stuff we talked about, you know, get the important stuff up top, that sort of thing, but I'm certainly not advocating everybody go out and do them. But it's a really good point. It's got to match the demographic. I mean, it's
great to send along with donation gift certificates. That's what
well, there's a use. There you go. Yeah, I mean, it's like anytime you're picking that tactic, you know, that marketing tactic, it's got to make sense for the end. What's the end goal? And if you don't have a sense for who the end user is, then maybe that's the first place to start, is who you trying to bring in.
But I like your part about talking about working in your own local community, and you know, that's where a lot of your referrals come from. And I think that particularly now is a lot of hotels are more community-based.
Right.
You want to, your guests come and they want to know about your community. So.
And so many of you are the anchor in the community. I mean, so many of you are the community. You know, I think about some of the work we've done with Woodstock. I mean, we a few years ago did this program where we brought people in. Sorry? Yeah, you were really surprised about that. Like, I don't know, like
That's hard.
maybe a little less surprised next time. But we brought folks in from the community and we did a social media training session. You know, it's like if we can get everybody in the community, you know, the folks at the general store, the folks at the restaurant, all kind of working together here, it's the rising tide effect, you know. Yeah, they love it. We should do another one of those. Yes, Beth.
Also, you know, you're talking about people within the community and recommendations, third-party reviews, the TripAdvisors and Yelps and all that.
Oh, yeah.
And how
Ooh.
to monitor and how important that part is too. 'Cause that's
Yeah, I mean, TripAdvisor, you know, with folks in the hospitality world, I mean, TripAdvisor's like either you're number one or you hate it. You know, like those are the options. You're number one or you're number one and you hate it.
Hans and I will have a cage fight over it.
Yeah, it's important to monitor it. It's important to know what's going on. It's important to be an active voice in there, responding to people's concerns. You know, don't hide from it. You know, a lot of people will say, well, I don't want to put a thing on my checkout desk that says we're on TripAdvisor. I don't want anybody to know. Well, they're going to know. So, like, just get ahead of it. So the folks who have a great experience are on there sharing it more than the folks who had a less than great experience. We're talking about TripAdvisor, the gloves are off. But, you know, I'll also say, I mean, we advise clients on TripAdvisor, and they're an aggressive business. You know, I mean, they want their money, and every year, it's more expensive, right? It's more expensive to be on TripAdvisor if you have a business listing. So it's good to kind of evaluate how much you can be there active, responding, and that sort of thing, and then how much are you getting from it? I mean, they're creating lots of vehicles for you to generate bookings, and you should be able to monitor and manage those. You know, you should know when they come to you and say, hey, your listing's going up 20%, push back on them and say, well, hey, listen, bookings from TripAdvisor are flat from last year, so an increase of 20% does not equate. And I can tell you from experience, if you push back, they will negotiate. And you got to be willing to be in that fight. You know, talk about a cage match with TripAdvisor. I mean, you've got to be willing to step into that ring and say, we're not getting value out of this as much as you're increasing the expenses. So, Dave.
I'm a huge fan of remarketing as a way of you've got a guest who's come to your website. That's a warm lead. Then they take off. You know, kid starts crying, something happens. They're distracted. And you might otherwise lose them. Remarketing, I think, is a great way to maintain that connection over Facebook or the Google network or whatever tool. Is there anything maybe that's more of a statement.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I agree. So everybody knows what remarketing ads are. So you leave a site and the ad follows you. So you're like, shop for something on Amazon, then all of a sudden there's an ad for it on Facebook for you. Yeah, I think if that's part of your portfolio of what you're doing for marketing, PPC in general, if you're advertising on the Google network, feathering in remarketing, I think is a great way to do it. I think we've moved beyond the it's annoying phase where, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, a lot of consumers were pushing back and saying, I don't want that. I don't want you to follow me. I think the results that I've seen show that we've kind of turned the corner a little bit on the annoyance factor. And I would also say, I was talking to, I don't know if Luke's in here. I don't think Luke's in here. I was talking to Luke about the pop-up, the email capture pop-ups too, and I think we've kind of turned the corner on that a little bit too, where we're almost expecting it. So I agree that it's a big part of it.
Well,
Yes.
to kind of go back to, you talked about lead generation for your email list with the Facebook thing, and tie in with Burr saying maybe he doesn't want to do a rack card and all that. My presumption is that Burr has a fantastic newsletter that he puts out. And so are you saying that we need to generate a greater email list for e-newsletters?
Yeah,
The
if
purpose for the email list generation is for the e-newsletter?
Yeah,
Burr puts
that's-
out so he doesn't need the rack card because of
100
his newsletter?
Well, I wouldn't say get rid of the rack card, but I would say that if you have an email marketing program where you're doing a monthly e-newsletter or something like that, you guys know every time you send an email, somebody unsubscribes, and there's people that are unsubscribing. A program like Facebook's lead generation ads would be a good way to kind of backfill some of those folks that are abandoning your email marketing program every month. And the level of targeting, if you've had experience with Facebook ads, you know the detailed level of targeting that you can get to, I think makes that a viable source for new emails. And we're doing it with some of our clients right now. We're seeing really strong results. It's only been, I think, 6 months since they rolled that out. So if you follow these things with Facebook, you know that it's going to get increasingly more expensive or difficult to compete. And I'm not saying everybody jump out and do that tomorrow. But if you are doing email marketing and you're comfortable with Facebook ads, I think lead generation is a good place to look. And I've talked to people about lead generation ads since they came out, and I'm always surprised to hear that people say, "Well, I didn't know about that," or "I didn't know you could set up an ad that the pop-up would just happen right in Facebook and you could collect someone's email." So
talk to me more about email marketing.
Oh, that's the next. I think that's the next session. Now, well, do you want to talk to me after? I can answer your specific questions. Yeah, because I would love to talk to you about email marketing.
There's one tip. There is a supporting research at Bentley, to Bentley University College. Just did recently on brochures, brochure guides, basically on property communications.
Right.
When somebody arrives.
Right.
And read it because they very much the data very much supports.
This was a Bentley study, you said?
Yep, and they very much supports having that print guide directory
Yeah.
on property. Maybe a way that you can utilize the same thing to solve both problems. Maybe
Yeah.
not, but something to look at. So just search Bentley University brochure.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that. Yeah, I think anything you can do to enhance the experience where those folks are visiting and get them deeper into your local neighborhood, your local culture, if it's something you want to get them deeper into, which I imagine it would be, that sounds like a great place to start. Yes.
I am Lisa Lynn with Vermont Ski and Ride and Addison Independent, number of other media. And one thing that we're seeing is that there's a real shift in trust among consumers in terms of what they will click on, what they will believe. So this is sort of a two-part question. Is one, how do you get people to trust your email marketing, your Facebook ads? And then two, how do you then leverage trusted reviews or trusted comments or other folks who are giving you good reviews and get those out there?
Yeah, the trust part's big, and since we were talking about lead generation and gathering new emails, I will say that I'd recommend thinking about the process for bringing somebody into your email list, right? So I wouldn't necessarily say you get 200 new emails from an ad you ran last month. I wouldn't throw them right into the churn, the ongoing churn of your email marketing. I'd think about, can you have a softer email that goes to them first? something that warms them up to the idea of seeing your name in the inbox. Maybe it's a beautiful image, maybe it's 200 words and a link to learn more. Something like that, that's like a really soft, and I wouldn't even say a soft sell, it's just soft. It's like, we're getting to know each other. And then increasingly get them into the regular program where they're seeing that email marketing every month from you that could be, 2 parts content, 1 part sales pitch, that sort of thing, to get them into the rhythm. And your second question, I don't know if they're connected or that was a separate question, the second one. I think a lot of times when you see a review that's great and you wanna share it, my sense is, working with some smaller properties anyway, that they know who that person is, right? It's like it's a regular and they're leaving a great review. I think it makes sense to follow up with that person directly and say, hey, if you have a testimonials page on your website, or maybe you have a slideshow on the front that has quotes or something in it, I think it's perfectly fine to reach out to that person and say, hey, thanks for this really great review. We'd love to share it with others and see what they say. And that'd be my recommendation there. You guys brought it with the questions. I'm really psyched about this. I don't know. I think. Yeah.
How it's sort of two-pronged. You can go. So how do you either qualify, or is there a better place than others to look for bloggers and people that you might want to engage with to make sure that they're the right quality and that they will bring people back to you, as opposed to...
So as far as like the guest blogger program?
I mean, I think some people...
Well, I have some PR people in the room who I work with.
So I would say, and you guys feel free to jump in because this is more your world on the PR side than mine, but when we look at evaluating somebody in the PR world, or in the blog world, we will absolutely read their posts, get to know what their voice is, find out what their reach is on social media, which all of those things can help to kind of qualify, okay, this is a person who's doing good work, and they match with whatever we're looking for. We're looking for someone to write on culinary. They do that. And then I think engaging in a dialogue with them and determine, is this somebody I can work with? Because if you're going to partner with somebody, you're going to probably have some deadlines. You're going to have some things you want them to get done in a timely fashion. So, that's where, yeah. Now, I was just going to say, I would start with the kind of online evaluation,
Can those numbers be fabricated in any way? One instance of someone had thousands of likes on Instagram and like 200 followers on Facebook. Like, where does this come from?
Yeah, I don't. Do either of you want to?
I mean, a lot of it is just looking at the aggregate, like the total picture of everything that they have. And also, when you're evaluating, is really looking at their engagement levels, right? So not just how many followers do they have, but how many people are actually liking their stuff, how many people are commenting, and especially how many people are sharing. Because you want someone that has a strong enough voice that other people want to share what they're doing. You can get a good litmus of that just by poking around yourself. And as much as this is kind of a rudimentary thing, Google them. And see, have they been quoted anywhere else? Do people refer to their stuff? Are they
guest blogging for others?
Right, and who else are they doing? Have they written any journalistic stuff, and what's their general vibe? And usually you can get a sense, yeah. We used to tell people to go to Alexa.com and look and see, where their blog ranks in the world of websites, and most of there's so many websites out there. It's like, so if they're 18 million in the United States, they're awesome. Like, they're doing great. So, that doesn't really help so much, but it is helpful for you to just see where they stand up against, all of the other people on social media, and, again, like going back to that level of engagement. So, yeah.
Nice job, boss.
Hey, can I get paid?
You get paid. Any other questions?
I'll just add to it was an interesting discussion before about rack cards and brochures, and this is something that it seems like year after year, more and more people say, is it time to retire the brochure or the rack card? And it was about 3 years ago that the Vermont Tourism Research Center did a study with the Vermont Department of Tourism and Marketing, surveying visitors to Vermont, in-state as well as out-of-state. And the finding was, don't retire your rack card just yet. For people looking for information before they've come to Vermont, I have to say it's highly unusual to ask to have rack cards sent to us. There were very few cases of people using rack cards in advance of coming to Vermont. It was much more, I mean, friends and family is always important at every phase of the decision-making process, but before you come to Vermont, it was much more websites, and in terms of print, it was news articles, some advertising, but mostly the news and magazine articles for print, and especially, you know, websites. And social media was there, but it wasn't as big as I think a lot of people were expecting. But then, once people arrived in Vermont, okay, friends and family always, you know, is the most important part. But after that, it was rack cards and brochures in terms of where people got their information that influenced their, you know, what they did. And social media was a little more important there. You know, websites still important, but what we took away from that study, which, you know, is maybe 3 years old now, is, you know, for certain demographics, maybe you don't need the rack card anymore, but for a lot of visitors, they're still relying on that rack card. And that is consistent with, I'm sure many of you know Bill Orleans at PP&D Brochure Information. If you would ever,
Do you think rack cards work?
latest information on the value of rack cards and brochures, he won't give you the research. You know, of course, every business is different, and it all comes down to your experience. But I think, you know, when that research came out a couple years ago, a lot of people were surprised at how much influence those pieces of paper still have.
Yeah. I just, in a second, so I hadn't had a request for a brochure for over a year. And the past month, I've had 4 people call me insisting that I mail them a brochure.
Wow. Maybe I'm ahead of the curve.
I'm in the Chamber of Commerce, and we get hundreds of requests for tourism information, and we stuff the rack cards into the envelopes, and out they go. So there's value to it.
Right.
Russ, you really get your wish for a rack card campaign at this
Guys,
point.
this is the start of something.
Spectacular.
I have an email list. You all need to sign up for it.
Look at the one with the ugly brochure right below the teddy bear.
I didn't stay out there.
I mean, we're going to redesign it. No, but we put $1 off admission on the thing.
Right, so you're
And
giving them
so when
something.
people, yeah, but the value of that is when people bring it in to redeem it, we ask them where they picked it up. So we also find out where they're getting it, so then we can renegotiate our routes and find out what's working, and we know how many. So we have about, what's that?
The $1 off work.
Yeah, I mean, $1 off. I mean, whoopee, but and, you know, but it does. People want a value. But we find that, I mean, of our paid visitor admission, this is for a museum. It depends on the season, but we get between 6 and almost 10% of our visitors come in with that rack card. So I guess they work, because that doesn't count the ones that are all decomposing on the floor mats.
I'm just going on record that I'm going to be in a cage with Hans later about rack cards. I got an idea for you.
I'm going to find you.
I got an idea for you. All right? You're going to be a rack card evangelist by the time we're done.
All right, guys, thank you so much. TS phenomenal. You're all in the family, so I've got cards up here. If anybody wants a card, feel free to reach out if you ever have any questions. We are here to help you.